We are here with Ryan and Sean, who work at the Golden Goat Tattoo Company. And I'm kind of interested in y'all's story and history of how you came to being a professional piercer and tattoo artist and owning your own shop. Can you kind of walk us through the story of how this came to be, how we got to the point where we are?
I guess my story started first. Sometime around this month, actually, 21 years ago, I started piercing. At the time, it was just a cool job to do after school. That's something after getting out of high school and everything, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I thought I might get 5 years out of it or whatever, and 21 years later, here I am, still piercing people.
Right as I turned 18 and was legal to get tattooed, I went in and sort of met a tattoo artist and started going in and getting tattooed on a regular basis, and I became friends with my tattooer, so I started hanging out at the shop and inevitably over time sort of helping out here and there, you know, if a customer needed help with paperwork or answering questions, just because I was around, I would help out. And at the time, Sean was the piercer at that shop. So I met him at that shop when I was 18. Being around the shop, it was just very natural for it to sort of move that way. And I, you know, picked up a machine and I wound up with an apprenticeship. And it wasn't, you know, long before I was, you know, just going. So 8 years later, this past March was 8 years of tattooing.
And then the two of you were just kind of like, well, I pierce and I tattoo, so we should just open the shop.
Well, actually,
it was always a dream.
Yeah, that was always kind of the long-term plan, but I had, my very first piercing apprentice that I taught to pierce, after he left ways with me, he ended up moving out here, and now he owns Affinity Tattoo and Piercing.
Awesome.
We came to visit him for a week, and he asked if we'd like to open a shop with him, and on the third night here, about 3 in the morning,
we started looking for places
to live. And
wow.
Just jumped on it because we loved Austin, and it was the perfect setup for us. And I spent a year looking for a location. It's really hard to find a place that wants to rent to a tattoo shop because they're scared that that our crowd might scare away other businesses from potentially wanting to rent, or that we might, you know, just do drugs and be drunk and trash the place, or that we might not pay our rent. So to be taken seriously is kind of difficult, and then also to find a place that suits our standards, because we weren't willing to settle for a space that wasn't nice and that didn't have street visibility and parking and everything else.
Yeah. Well, having made that big decision to move to Austin and set up shop here, are you happy and satisfied with the way things have gone?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We this past March we celebrated our 2-year anniversary at the shop, which was really cool, and it's wonderful here. I mean, it's a different culture in general than the East Coast where we're from, and so just Austin in of itself, and you know, Round Rock by proxy where we're at, it's just a more comfortable place for, at least for me, and I think for Sean, to live.
What are some of your favorite styles of tattooing, and then also, do you have any favorite piercings that you really enjoy?
Want to go first?
Yeah, so after 21 years of piercing, most piercings themselves aren't super exciting for me. It's more about the experience with the customers.
Okay.
Like, I do a lot of kid lobes, and like a 5-year-old kid getting through their fear and, you know, getting the earrings they want, and it's a really rewarding experience. In the same way, we had a 80-year-old guy on an oxygen tank that came in and wanted his ear pierced, and he said that he'd wanted his ear pierced his whole life, but he was worried about being judged, but he was about to die, so fuck it. And that was a beautiful experience for me. So I value the experience and the interaction with the customers more than the specific piercings per se.
I think for me, a lot of what I find myself most drawn to in the tattoo world is like the actual connections and communications with people, and sort of having the ability to make the tattoo experience an experience rather than just like the application of a tattoo. I can't tell you, like, I mean, I personally have on my body tattoos where when someone says, oh my gosh, I love that tattoo, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, ugh, I hated the person that did that. Or, ugh, that was a really bad day. You know, because you associate back to those moments. So I think so much of what I try and offer to my clients and my experience here in the shop is something that you can take home, to where, like, 20 years from now, if someone asks you who did that tattoo or asks you about that the immediate reaction is like a happy memory of the experience.
My next question is like, where did the association with vegan tattooing, where did that come in?
The process that we offer with all of our artists, so just the supplies that we're using, everything that we provide for our artists is vegan and cruelty free.
Okay.
And so anybody that can come in here can, sort of feel like they're taking an extra step to help the environment or to just make a little bit of impact. And that's sort of one of the things that we want to be doing, is just making a little bit of impact wherever we can.
We know that you have a flash tattoo sale going on. You want to tell us about when that's happening and the details of that?
Sure.
Yeah, so we are doing a Friday the 13th special, which is very common in tattoo shops. Started at Elm Street Tattoo by Oliver Peck in Dallas several years ago, and it's kind of just blown up.
Yeah, so there'll all be a specific flash sheet that you can come in. For any of our existing customers, so anybody who's had a tattoo or piercing here before, then they're going to be $13 for any of the pieces off that sheet. And if you're not an existing customer, you've never been to our shop before, then they're still only going to be $31.
Awesome. And so someone who's never had a flash tattoo before, who would say like, well, this is just something that, you're getting out of a book. What is the, originality aspect for the flash tattoo?
Yeah, these designs were drawn by artists in this shop for this one-day specific event. There may be variations of these designs done at other events, but these specific ones will only be done here. So if you see somebody with the same tattoos, they got it at the same shop, same day, not necessarily the same artist, but the same group of artists.
Yeah.
And so it's about commemorating the experience more than getting an original piece of art.
And that's a hell of a conversation starter too. If you meet somebody,
who's got the same one,
yeah,
exactly.
The same tattoo.
Yeah, and you don't have to battle to the death with 13s. If you actually meet somebody on the street who has the same tattoo of you and it's not as you and it's not flash, you have to battle to the death.
That's a rule.
Yeah.
That's a cool fun fact. I did not know.
The only exception are flash things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you both so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much for
Really
talking.
great.